Hello everyone, this is Jotto, and welcome to the Hearthstone Weekly Show, episode number 74. We'll be going over more Goblins and Gnomes spoilers. There were 13 this week, instead of 5.
Yeah, a lot this week.
I don't know what the jump was there, though. Like, 13 to... They went from 5, so they released like 2 to 1, to... They were like, oh, we're releasing 3 a week, right? Yeah, we'll also release like 1 preview. And then we'll release one on some random day we're not supposed to release a preview on. And they did this 3 times. And then they released another one for fun.
I think some cards got like leaked and then they just like jumped on it.
Yeah, I don't think they care about leaks anymore. Like, not with spoiler season already going. They're just like, well, if it got leaked, whatever. Let's just say it's legitimate.
Yeah, there's no reason to lie about it now.
Yeah, and as you can tell by the voice in the background, and also the picture that was on there last week, Manuelz back with me for this week.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah, partly because he wants to be, and partly because no one else gave me a reply in time. So that's a thing. Anyway, so we've got a lot to talk about, so we're going to try and move through these fairly quickly, because I got yelled at last week for going over 5 cards in an hour. So let's go on to the cards then. So the first one is Faux Reaper, and this is the most, I think this has the most discussion about it, at least in Icebreakers, being the Faux Reaper 4000. Now, I call him the King of the Harvest Golems, but he's the 8 mana 6/9 mech, legendary, also damages the minions next to whomever, it's not a word I thought I'd find on a Hearthstone card, he attacks. First of all, if you see this in Arena, you pick it, and if you don't go at least 7 wins, and you drew it every game, you're doing something horribly wrong.
Yeah, it's insane.
I don't see how you lose a game in Arena when you play this. Unless they literally have lethal on board. Or immediately polymorph it or something. They need to have either hard removal, or they lose the game. Now, in Constructed, there's obviously this thing called mana cost, and the fact that as soon as anything goes above 6 mana, everyone puts it in the suspicious zone, because 6 mana leaves you 4 mana later in the game, and 4 mana is usually where things get relevant. So you can do 2 things in 1 turn. Once you go above 6, you can't really do 2 things in 1 turn. And once it goes to 8, it's a bit sketchy, and once it gets to 9, you literally skip your turn to play it, so it better be good.
It's a really slow card.
It's not as slow as Sneasel Treader, though.
No.
Like, Sneasel Treader will literally kill you slower than a rock takes to a road from the wind. Like, that thing is slow. This is not as slow as Sneasel Treader, however, we are literally comparing it to the slowest card in the game.
Yeah, and the stats are really good, though.
Yeah, the stats are way better than Sneed's, that's for sure. The effect is also way better than Sneed's, in my opinion.
This might be, like, the best stats in the game.
For the cost.
Next to, like, Ysera, maybe?
Although Ysera's stats is going to become a handicap. With
Yeah, because of Shrinkmeister, yeah. So this card is really good stat-wise, because it doesn't get BGH'd. It doesn't die to Ragnaros random hits. It doesn't really die to anything that I can think of.
It literally dies to hard removal, which every creature does.
Yeah.
Literally all of them. And I remember having a discussion about this, and it was just, it doesn't do anything when you play it, and it dies to hard removal. And I was just like, well, Ragnaros doesn't, like, Ragnaros's charge, half of its effect, I think is vastly overstated. Like, Ragnaros doesn't do that much when you play it, especially nowadays. Ragnaros is very, very good when they don't have the hard removal for it. When they do, it's terrible. So that was always that's a weird argument to use as to sort of like why you wouldn't play this instead of Rag.
Yeah, I think I might play this card over Rag. It just depends on, like, still have to play with it, obviously.
Yeah,
but
you need to play with it.
It's really good though. Because, like, it doesn't die to Fireball, Gore Howl. Like, it doesn't die to, like, any, like, removal from, like, spell-wise and weapon-wise.
It only dies to removal that says destroy the creature.
Yeah, so it dies to execute, Shield
Hex,
Slam,
Polymorph.
Hex, Polymorph, but like anything dies to that.
It doesn't really die to shields. It does not die to Shield Slam because you're playing it in a deck that's probably hitting a bit heavier earlier in the game if you're playing like a cleanup card, which is what this is.
Yeah, I guess this would be used as a finisher.
Yeah. Also,
Kind of just like
because I said it won't die to Shield Slam, someone is going to send me like a screenshot of Shield Block, Shield Block, Shield Slam. I'm just like, that's just cheating.
if that happens, you feel really sad.
This is your opponent has been sitting there with a shield block. He's like, I know he's got a Foe Reaper in his deck. I'm saving them. I feel so sorry for you if that actually happens. That's just horrible. But basically, it doesn't die to damage. That's what, like, once you get above 8 life, it does not die to damage. It just takes too long. But I mean, the main problem with this card is that it gives your opponent a turn to react to it where you actually don't do anything. It's like Kel'Thuzad in that manner. The difference is that this thing has a whiplash effect, where if they don't deal with it, if you get to attack with a Foe Reaper, you're probably either winning or back in the game.
Yeah, this could swing you back in the game easily.
That's the difference between this and Kel'Thuzad, which is the immediate comparison. You know, similar stat totals, doesn't really do anything immediately, although Kel'Thuzad can. But the difference is that while Kel'Thuzad secures your win, Foe Reaper has a whiplash effect to it. It also is completely ridiculous in super late game situations. Like, I could see this in Shaman, for example. You have Flame Tongue Totem, you have Rock Biter to amp it up if you need to. You can also just play it instead of Ragnaros and the more control-y builds, because usually if you're playing against a control deck, which can kill this, you just play it in the super late game when you've literally ground them into a paste and you just win.
Yeah, you just grind them out and they have like no cards left and you play this and they just can't deal with it.
Yeah, you can't deal with this if you don't have forward removal. So, I mean, I'll try it because I love playing Control Shaman, but it may be a bit slow for other decks. What do you think?
I think it's a good card, but we just have to like play with it for like at least a couple of weeks to make like to see if it's gonna be like a staple in Control Warrior or Shaman or something.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. And I know we've talked about this card for like 5 minutes, but believe me, this is the card we'll talk about the most. Some of them are just like, hey, it's good, hey, it's bad, because there were a lot of them this week. But anyway, so moving on to the other legendary we got this week. This is Toshley, and also there's going to be another legendary out tomorrow. There's a voting thing going on at the moment. But anyway, Toshley, 6 mana, 5/7, legendary, Battlecry and Death Rattle. I don't think that's on a single card in the game yet.
It's not.
Add a spare part to your hand. So this, in all honesty, you're getting a 6 mana, 5/7 that if they don't silence it, and if they do, they're doing something wrong. You draw 1 card, really, because it's 2 spare parts.
Which is good, though.
Yeah, I mean, that's very good. The stats are ridiculous. Like, this is very, like, we talked about Shield Maiden last week and how it has a bit of an awkward interaction with Loatheb. Whereas
this is better than Shield Maiden.
This is way better than Shield Maiden in most situations. And Toshley, basically, you play it, it's kind of got the Cairn effect where you're not really going to kill it with damage. You may have to hard remove it, or try and smack it really hard with something, which is not very easy when you're talking about a 5/7. It also...
No, it dies to Gorehowl.
No one plays Gorehowl.
Yeah, but that's all I can think of.
It dies to Gorehowl, but yeah. I mean, it dies to Ragnaros, but it's a turn 6 play. It does not die to Loatheb, which is important. It's a 6-drop that does not trade with Loatheb, which is a good thing. It also... The spare parts, I think, no matter how much play this sees, it will probably see play in Rogues trying to do a Gadgetzan engine, which is most of them. Because you do get 6... You do get a 6 mana 5/7 and 2 spells.
Yeah, but if you're on turn 6 and you're Miracle Rogue and you don't have Auctioneer in your hand, you're probably not going to win anyway.
Oh no, I mean, I was thinking of like putting... Because I think there's going to be two types of rogue decks after Goblins and Gnomes. There's going to be the ones, if there's support for it, there's going to be the Miracle decks running like, Violet Teacher, maybe some combo pieces, things like that, just pumping out spells. But the other one I'm kind of thinking of is like you run the spare parts cards, and you just run like a tempo deck, and you just, when you have a bunch of spare parts, you just gadget down, run them all out, and then draw more creatures and then play them.
Yeah, Toshley's really good though because they give you 2 cards, and it's a 5/7. So maybe this card might see play over Karen.
I actually think this is better than Karen. I don't like Karen. I really don't. Because it's so slow.
Like Karen's sticky and everything, and it's like, but like a lot of the time your opponent just like ignores it and just goes face or something anyway, or just gets like hexed. This card, like, you gain 2 cards for 1, and it trades with Lothab and doesn't die.
Yeah, I mean, Karen being a 4/5 is way worse than being a 5/7. Like, you can't really ignore this thing as much because the 5 attack on turn 6 is a lot more relevant than the 5 attack on turn 8. Looking at you, Mr. Shredder. But it matches up badly against Sylvanas, but most things do if they're creatures. So it's a bit of a weird comparison. But what it does do is it kills Sludge Belcher, it kills Lothab, it kills Drake efficiently. Like, it kills,
which are all 5 drops people play.
It kills all the 5 drops efficiently. It kills most 6 drops. It's just the king of trading at that mana cost. It's the Boulder Fist Ogre that's actually decent. Because
it gives you 2 cards. And like, if you're playing like Control Warrior and you're running out of cards and you just like top deck this and you gain a card, it could be something really useful that swings the game.
Yeah, you can also, like, spare parts, they're not fantastic, but a lot of people have been talking about them in a bad light, but in all honesty, you're getting them for free. So it's not the worst deal in the world if they don't do that much. Like,
it's card advantage without having to play cycle cards, really.
Yep, exactly. But anyway, so I think he'll see a decent amount of play. I think we were talking about the possibility of Mr. Foe Reaper in Control Warrior. I think this is a perfect card in Control Warrior.
Yeah, you might play this over Karen in Control Warrior now.
Hits a bit harder, better at trading, not vulnerable to silence at all.
If they silence this, they're not smart, probably.
Yeah, it's not vulnerable to Shrinkmeister combinations, because Shadow Madness will not kill this. Like, if they Shrinkmeister Shadow Madness, the chances of them killing the Toshley are very, very, very low. And it's just out of the Shadow... It's just out of the... what's it called? Cabal range.
Yeah, it can get pained with Shrinkmeister, but that's okay, though.
Horrible. You still get an extra spare part.
You get 2 cards for 1, so... It's
really... like, they use a Shrinkmeister and a card to kill half of your card, really.
Yeah, basically, because you get 2 spare parts.
Exactly. But anyway, I think he's very, very good. He's another one of those cards where it's like, if you see him in Arena, you literally just pick him and then high-five all your friends. And move on and hope you just win a bunch of games with him, because he's ridiculous. But very, very good card. Not sure how good and constructed, because we don't know a lot of the cards yet. We don't know how fast the format's going to be. But at the moment, very, very good card. On to Cobalt Guardian. This is a 5-mana 6/3 mech with, whenever you summon a mech, gain Divine Shield. Now, I'm pretty sure this does not see itself as a mech when you summon it. If it does, it's kind of good. Kind of? Sort of? It's in the middle between good and, like, okay.
However, it doesn't have Divine Shield when you summon it, right?
I don't think it does. If it does, it's way better than it is without, obviously, although I still don't think it's that amazing, because it's very, very vulnerable to ping effects, and 3 health is not fantastic, not to mention you can just silence it if you really can't get past a shield. And it doesn't kill anything when you play it. It doesn't have any immediate disruption effect. So even then, it's like, it's not fantastic if it does see itself with the Divine Shield. But the way I think it works is that it doesn't get the Divine Shield. And if that's true, it is one of the single worst 5-drops in the game, which is saying a lot.
Yeah, you can't play this over any of the 5-drops, really.
It's horrible.
You can't play this over Belcher, Lothab, Drake. anything really.
What makes it even worse, and basically a slap in the face, is that this is a Paladin card. Like, Paladin is the worst class in the game right now, and this is the first one they spoiled. They spoiled 2 other cards for Paladin, which are actually a lot better than this. But this is the first one they spoiled for Paladin this week, and it was basically like a slap in the face. Like,
It's just so bad.
it's terrible. I think it's the second worst card on this spoiler list.
Like, it's the same argument with like Scarlet Crusader. Like Scarlet Crusaders used to see play in Zoo because there wasn't really anything better to play.
That was way better than this, though.
Yeah, yeah, and like a 6 mana, it's 5 mana, and it's a 6/3. It's so easy to like kill a Divine Shield
Yeah, like
right now. It's
the
just
other
so
thing
easy.
is, Scarlet Crusader was good back then. I mean, nowadays you can play it and win some games, but there's just better options. The reason that was good was because it was 3 mana, attacked for 3, and was difficult to trade with because you didn't have a bunch of extra mana lying around. Like, if you play a Cobalt Guardian against a Druid, they literally laugh at you.
Yeah, it doesn't do anything.
Like, it's going in the Kidnapper pile of cards. Which is the ones where it's like, you never ever see them, and then eventually it ends up in funny and lucky moments when it does something useful.
Yeah, I guess if you get like some cool trades with it or something, like you summon a minion like a mech, and then you hit something and it gains Divine Shield or whatever, it trades well.
It's really good once it's online. The problem is getting it online.
And when you play it, it's gonna die.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not gonna live after the turn you play it.
So, bad card. Agreed.
Yeah,
Moving
pretty
on.
bad card.
Fel Cannon, oh look, it's good. Oh wait, it's actually not that good card. It's a 4 mana 3/5 Warlock card. Mech, at the end of your turn, deal 2 damage to a non-mech minion. Now, first of all, I want to explain why this could be good. It's a Demolisher, end of your turn, decent body. Now I'll explain why it's not good. The problem is, they've added a bunch of really good mechs, which means when you play this, it's not going to hit anything. The worst thing is that the class that's probably most likely to be playing a non-mech is Warlock, which is very awkward. So this is actually just a worse Yeti in most situations, and Yeti isn't even that good anymore.
It's gonna kill your minions, and you're gonna like complain about RNG.
Yeah. And then someone in the forum post below that is going to point out that there weren't any other non-mechs on the board because you're playing Warlock and you had a random Flame Imp.
Exactly.
It's going to suck. It's just not going to be happy.
This card would be good if it like dealt damage like a random enemy minion.
As opposed to non-mech.
Yeah, like if it didn't have the chance to kill your minions, it'd be fine.
But it does.
But if it hurts your minions, you're going to just like lose from there.
Yeah, I agree. I don't like this card. In Arena, it's way better because you can play it out on an empty board, and it claws you back because there'll still be a ton of non-mechs in Arena because you just take what you get.
Yeah.
And it's a decent body, good effect, things like that. But in Constructed, when you can theme your decks, it's just not good.
Especially like if you're trying to snowball too, like if you're snowballing and you're on turn 4 and you have like a board that aren't like mechs, you can't even play this card because it might kill something that you need.
Although I will say something, there will be one mech that will still be hanging around in pretty much every single one non-mech that will still be hanging around in every single deck, which this does hit, which is Loatheb. The problem is it costs less than Loatheb and probably die before it even comes down. So
yeah.
It's not even a relevant interaction. Moving on. The Iron Sensei, also known as the Why Is This a Rogue card. The art makes it look like a tank. I have no idea what that... Anyway. 3 mana 2/2, Mech, Rogue card. At the end of your turn, give another friendly... can't give itself the buff here. Another friendly Mech, +2/+2. Do you want to start on this one?
Yeah. It's a solid card, but you and I were talking about this earlier, is that there's so many good 3-drops to play. And even in like Rogue, you probably still play SI7 after Goblin versus Gnomes,
It's just
and
so
Spider Tank and Harvest Golem. So you can't really fit this card in.
Like,
and it's random.
There's gonna be
and
congestion problems at the 3-drop slot for Rogue.
Yeah, and it's not immediate. Like if you could play this and you have another mech out, like let's say you have a Harvest Golem out, and you play this and then your Harvest Golem gets buffed and it can trade for
So
something and not
good.
die, it's good.
Oh wait,
But
that's
it's
another
not.
card coming up at some point.
Yeah, but it's at the end of your turn. It's not a battle cry like Shadow Sun Cleric. Like Shadow Sun Cleric used to see playing Zoo. Well, it still kind of does sometimes, but like because you could like buff up a minion and just trade for free, like right away. You can't trade for free right away.
Yeah, like I think what really put it in the common here was that one, you're going to want, like, if you're playing Undertaker, you want Harvest Golem. If you're not playing Undertaker, you probably want the Spider Tank along with Tinkertown, along with SI7. So,
Exactly.
like, you have congestion problems at the 3-drop slot, and it's just, I really, like, the best case scenario with this card is the first thing I thought was Coin, Mech Warper, Iron Sensei on turn 2. But then you have like a Yeti Warper and a 2/2 and you're really, really far ahead. But the problem is, like, how is that much better than just Spider Tank?
It's not.
Exactly. Like, it's only a little bit stronger, but it's less reliable. It's one of the single worst top decks ever if you have an empty board. If you're behind, it actually is just a 3-mana 2/2. It's raid leader stats if you're behind.
If you play this on turn 3 at the 3-drop, you're going to lose the game.
If you have nothing else, yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah.
It's absolutely
Like
horrible.
you can play like right now in like Rogue, you can play SI7 as a 3-mana 3/3 and you're still fine.
Rogue uses 3-mana 3/3s better than any other class because they have their dagger,
Yeah.
they have backstab, they have like all these free spells that they can throw out, and they can just hit various important damage numbers with 3-mana 3/3s. And this is not a 3-mana 3/3, it's a 2/2. So if you play it on the board empty, it just seems kind of awkward.
And Harvest Golem kills it for free too.
Yeah, so does Spider Tank, and so does Mech Warper. Oh god, that's awkward.
Yeah. If
Mech
you like
Warper kills it? Ugh.
Yeah. If you can snowball with this card on 3 though and like you get like a big warper or something, it's good value. But the problem is it's not that much better than just running like Spider Tank or Tinkertown Technician or something.
It's like, best case scenario is not that much better than getting like a solid Tinkertown or Spider Tank
Yeah.
or something. But worst case scenario is literally horrible.
Because like when you play Tinkertown and even if it doesn't get the buff, at worst it's a 3/3, right?
Which Rogue's are good with.
Yeah, and this at worst is a 3-mana 2/2, which is completely just way worse.
It's actually atrocious. The other thing is that if you play this at a 2/2, because the buff doesn't give haste, if they have an Undertaker on the board, you're not going to be able to kill it if it's a 2/3 already and it just eats the Iron
Exactly.
Sensei. Like,
If it was
it's so awkward.
Yeah, if the effect was immediate, like if it was a battle cry,
If it
it'd be a
was
lot
just
better.
Battle Cry, it'd be way, way better.
Yeah, I agree.
Way, way better. It would actually see a lot of play. Even though you can't repeat the effect, it'd be way, way stronger.
Yeah,
than it is
because like
currently.
you could coin Harvest Golem into this, and
If
it
you
was
just go Mech
yeah.
Warper into Iron Sensei, and then you get the buff with haste is the main point.
immediately,
Play it
and
immediately.
then Mech Warper kills something. But like it's really awkward though, because like when you play this card, like and you have another mech on board, you know that's gonna get the effect, so you don't want to trade.
Yeah, you don't
You're
wanna
like,
trade.
why
You
am I
also-
playing this card? I can't trade.
You also
I have
don't
to
want to play
hit face.
another mech, which
Yeah.
means you're wasting Mech Warper mana, is the other thing.
Exactly.
So there's so
So-
many awkward situations with this. I don't think you'll see that much play in arena. If you have a massive amount of mechs, it's really good. If you don't, though, it fits in the this is really awkward pile.
Basically.
Anyway, on to the best name along with the other druid card, Mech-Bear-Cat.
It's a really cool card.
6 mana, 7/6. Bit awkward on the stats there. It's a mech. When this minion takes damage, add a spare part to your hand. First of all, if you see this in arena, you pick it at the same priority as Boulder Fist, I think. Or
Basically, yeah.
maybe higher. Like,
Because it draws you a card.
It's ridiculous. In Constructed, this is not very good, and it also fits in the Big Game Hunter's like gallery of things he can shoot at.
It would be better as a 6/7.
Be way better as a 6.
7/6 is not very
It's
good.
like Illidan. If Illidan was a 5/7, he'd be ridiculous.
Yeah, so this card is not that great to constructed because it's probably just going to die when you play it. Like if it was a 6/7, it'd be a lot harder to remove.
Why wouldn't you just play Toshley over this?
Yeah, Toshley is better.
I mean, Toshley isn't a mech, but if you want the card draw of a 6-drop, and you want something to trade very well, I mean, Toshley doesn't hit as hard. But then, if you're trying to get value out of your hard-hitting 6-drops, why not just run the Sky Golem, the new Sky Golem?
Yeah. So this card isn't bad, but like the stats make it bad and constructed.
Exactly. It's good as a Hearthstone card, bad in like it's bad in a format where you can actually set up your decks themed. It's the same reason why Fel Cannon, is that what it's called? Yeah, is not that
Yeah,
good in constructed. It's simply
maybe if
because you can set up
nobody's
your
running
decks.
BGH.
Yeah, but
Like
then like
nobody's running BGH, maybe you could get away with running this card, but then again, Toshley is probably still
still not
better.
that. Like if no one's running BGH, it's still not
That good.
amazingly good.
Yeah.
It's just good. It's not
Both
amazingly good.
yeah, Toshley's still better than this card in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Anyway, on to arguably the best card that was spoiled this week. Screwjank Clunker, 4 mana, 2/5, mech, battlecry, give a friendly mech, +2/+2. Now, give me a sec. I'm just gonna go back to Iron Sensei here. They didn't really communicate these two cards together when they designed them, did they? +1 mana,
No.
+3 health, and the effect has haste.
Exactly. This card
What?
is so much better than Iron Sensei.
It's ridiculous. It's like you put them next to each other and it's like, what happened here?
Like, why couldn't Iron Sensei be like a 2/4 compared to that? Like,
Yeah, seriously. I mean, it would be ridiculous as a 2/4, and then you realize, well, Screwjank Clunker.
is a 2/5.
It's
And the effect is
ridiculous.
immediate.
Like, if you want Mech Warper Magical Christmas Land, this is the card. It's not even Magical Christmas Land, it's a 2-card combo on curve.
Exactly. This card is really good.
It's. Why did it have to be a mech as well? That's what I want to know. Like,
This
why
makes cards like Shadow Sun Cleric like
abysmally bad?
irrelevant.
It's basically
Yeah.
Houndmaster for mechs with a. Yeah, it's Houndmaster for mechs. Which, at first. And Houndmaster is a ridiculous card, but the mech support is way stronger than beast support. We've only
Exactly.
seen, what, like half of it so far?
There's so many good mechs that you're like, if you're running a mech deck, you're running this card, and it's kind of like Hunter in the way. If you get value off Houndmaster, you're really far ahead. But there's only so many few good beasts that you can really play the
Yeah.
Houndmaster anyway. But there's so many good mechs.
You can make use of this against aggro decks as well. Like, if you don't have anything to buff, I would. Like, I wouldn't be happy with it, but I would just play this out on turn 4. Like,
Exactly.
it
Of
will still
course.
do something. It's not fantastic, but it'll still do something. But the body is actually better than Houndmaster because Houndmaster dies really easily. 4 mana 4/3s, they hit hard if they don't have removal, but if they do, they're bad. That's why the new Piloted Shredder is so much better than any of the other 4 mana 4/3s because if they remove it, they get punished for it. Because like that card shows that yes, a 4 mana 4/3 is only good if you get something after it dies, because it will die. It will die, believe me. But yeah, 2/5 is really, really good stat distribution. It's not quite a waste of Snapjaw, but I will happily take 2 off the health for a pretty much equal power on the creature type, if not stronger.
It's a broken card in
The
my
other thing
opinion.
is, this is going to be a draw you just can't beat. Mech Whooper, turn 3 Screwjank, turn 4 Screwjank. You cannot
Yeah.
beat that draw. It's not possible.
It's it's insane. Like I can imagine just like the curve people are gonna get with mech decks, and you're just gonna like, wow,
Spider
this guy
type into
had,
this.
yeah, this guy has like, if your opponent has a mech and he gets Screwjank on 4, he's so far ahead,
It's like Houndmaster.
just so far ahead. Yeah, it's like Houndmaster, but probably even better, so the mechs are better than the beasts
Exactly.
from what we see. Just like giving value to like any mech is just so good, and the stats are good too.
It's
So
silly. This is a really silly card. There's just like if mech was like a bit more niched, kind of like beasts are. Like the beast synergies come from things like kill command and things like that. The mech synergies come from persistent effects. The problem is that if you give an ability on a mech to buff another friendly mech, so it makes it harder to kill, I mean, Mech Warper is obviously the best one because if they can't kill your Mech Warper, you win the game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I am really scared of Warrior Tempo decks now, and I mean, Kolma's gonna have a field day with this thing. He plays Warrior Tempo when the deck is horrible, and he's like the only person who can win with it. And this is actually terrifying. like that's a really scary tempo card. The art is also really weird. What's going on here?
Like, I can imagine people, like, coining in the Mech Warper into, like, double Clockwork Gnome into Spider Tank into Screwjank.
Ugh.
Like, and you just, like, wow. Like, how do you beat that draw again? Like, you can't.
Well, I mean, if you have a Mech Warper in your hand and a Clockwork Gnome, they just come down together.
Exactly. They're free.
Zero. It's just silly. Like, the Mech engine just with Mech Warper and Tinkertown is already stupid.
Yeah,
there's gonna
this
be
card
more
is so good.
for it. And this is just ridiculous. Like, it goes in the Mech engine. It's just retarded.
It just makes Iron Sensei look bad.
This is also way better in Arena than Iron Sensei.
Yeah, because, like, you pick Gnomish in Arena sometimes if there's not a better 4-drop because it draws a card and it kills things.
The other thing is, like, if you have a mech, this is ridiculous. So you
exactly.
You pick this, and then every other mech becomes pretty high priority, to be honest. Every other low drop mech becomes
this card's really good.
High priority. Same with Tinkertown. If you get a couple Tinkertowns, you just slam all the mechs you see. Like, that's pretty much how it operates. But very, very good card. Arguably the best card we saw so far. At least in this this set of 13. Now, Anodized Robo Cub. I'm disappointed because the original name, when we had the translation a bit wrong, because it was in different language, was Anodized Robo Teddy.
I like that more.
Yes, me too. It'd be the best name in, like, Hearthstone history. Anyway, it's a 2-mana 2/2 mech. In Druid, it's a bit weird that they have mechs, but you've got to fit them in somewhere. Taunt. Choose one. +1 attack or +1 health. Is it safe to assume that this is almost always going to be health? It might be attack every so often.
Like, maybe if you're playing, maybe if you get this on an empty board and they don't have something, maybe you would put it as...
have, like, Voidwalker or something.
Yes, something like that. But, like, this card is insanely good. But I don't know if it's silenced, does it become a 2/2 again? Like War?
Actually, yeah. Does it change the card? Or
because, like, when you silence Druid the Claw on top mode...
Anyway, so let's go on to the deck builder here, because if I recall correctly, there's actually different wording on them that changes their effect. Let me just check. Because, yeah, that interaction, I remember when we did, before Hearthstone came out, yeah, choose one, charge, or +2 health and taunt. And what does the other one say? +5 attack or +5 health and taunt. So they fixed it. No, you can't fix wording when they work differently. That's actually breaking the wording.
You don't know if this gets silenced, if it becomes a 2/2 again, or if it just
I'm guessing it doesn't change the card because I think Druid of the Claw was not really supposed to work that way. It just kind of did, and they kind of forgot about it. I think that this works the same way Ancient War does.
I don't know. We'll see. But regardless, it's a really good card.
Yeah, it's a very, very good card. Especially, like, Sunfury Protector, or do you see some play in the...
Yeah. So Sunfury was seeing play in, like, Wild Growth Druid with, like, Yetis and Spectral Knights and stuff.
That deck is dead, by the way. There's going to be better alternatives.
Well, yes, of course. But, like, you would play Sunfury just as a 2-drop if you didn't draw Wild Growth.
Basically, yeah.
And I can see the same thing with this card, though. Like, basically, you get rid of Sunfury and you play this card. And, like, mid-range double combo Druid decks.
It also gets a little silly with Mech Warper, because you can actually play, like... If you really want some crazy early game mech, you can actually just play Anodized Robo Cub instead of a Neutron, because this is way better on its own.
Yeah, this card is better than Neutron. Way better.
It is. So you have your taunt to protect it. You have all your low drop mechs. You could actually just build a mech deck with upwards of 15 to 16 cards in your deck with 3 mana or less.
Yep. And it always has taunt, no matter which one you pick.
Yep, it always has taunt.
So that's really important, because, like, let's say your opponent coin 1 Clockwork Gnomes. You can just play this as a 2/3 taunt.
Oh, that's
Or
so annoying. Yeah,
exactly.
and if they play Undertaker, you pick 3 attack.
Yeah, exactly. That's why this card is insanely good, is because you get to pick. Depending on
Yeah,
like their opening, you're like, oh,
this
he
is
clockwork known me. I put a 2/3. He
this is a
played Undertaker. I put a three
premium.
two.
This is a premium common in Arena, by the way.
Oh wait, oh it's a common.
Yeah, 2 mana,
Oh,
3/2 are very very good in Arena anyway. This has taunt, and it can also be a 2/3 if you need it to be.
exactly. This card is
Very very good
insanely
in
good.
Arena. And it's common, and it's in a class with a ping effect. Druid has
Yeah,
always been very, very close to being good in Arena, and has always had a couple hiccups, but this definitely puts it higher up on the food chain.
yeah. I mean,
They,
I would
they have a
almost always
power.
pick this card in
They have a
arena.
power common now. Yeah.
It's just so good.
Yep. And it works with Tinkertown, which is just silly.
Oh
Anyway,
yeah. Oh. Mm.
moving on. So, good card. Antique Healbot, also known as the Neutral Shaman card. This is a 5 this is a 5 mana 3/3 mech common, and it has Battlecry Healing Touch. Restore 8
Yep.
life to your hero. Now I'm just looking at the deck statistics on the side here. Apparently it's only been put in 4 decks, 2 of which are Shaman, the other's Druid, because why would you play Healing Touch over this, I think, is the better question there, and the other one's Warlock, it's probably some weird handlock. But 5 mana 3/3 is actually relevant because you'd play this later in the game, like way later in the game. And the 3/3 body is not fantastic on curve, but if you're playing it super late in the game because you're playing this to heal, it will trade with something or just add to damage on something and will save you some life. I'm more talking about Shaman as opposed to anything else because you can use Flame Tongues to trade it up as well.
It's basically a neutral heal for I think Shaman and Mage will play this a little bit, depending on how good it actually turns out to be.
If there is a control based hunter deck that will also play this eventually because it's a big heal boost. The other thing is Rogue. I'm not sure whether you play Earthen Ring or this. I think if you have Shadow Steps, you play Earthen Ring. If you don't, you play this. If you want the healing, that is.
Yeah, but it's good for the game that Blizzard's adding cards like this to the game.
Agreed.
Yeah, it's really good that they're adding neutral healing to the game.
Yeah, they should. There should be more neutral healing because they're adding a lot of extra. Like this is basically Healing Touch in neutral, but Healing Touch is not a good card in Druid,
No.
but it would be good in other classes. So that's why they're doing that because Ancient Allure functions as your Healing Touch when you need it. So Antique Healbot I think is actually a lot better than he looks. He'll probably be a 1-of in Shaman. You don't need to play 2, just 1. And whenever you draw
Yeah.
him, he just saves you.
He's not good, but like the problem is running this card over Belcher is like against Zoo, the 8 health isn't gonna win you the game
Yeah, he's not really a
until you
5.
stabilize.
He's not really a 5-drop is a weird thing.
Yeah,
Like,
he's good after you stabilize the
he's
game.
like, he's kind of he's got the same thing as like Big Game Hunter, where he's like an 8-drop that costs 5. You
Yeah,
play him when
because-
you stabilize, and then
Yeah.
he heals you back up so you don't die to burn.
So like against like Hunter, as like Shaman, right?
Very good.
Hunter
example.
goes all in against Shaman and be like, well, they don't have any healing. I'm just gonna go all in and just like hero power, hit face, ignore the board, right?
Yeah.
And you stabilize a lot of the time
At, like,
against
10
Hunter as
life
Shaman.
or less.
Yeah, and then you just like die to a random kill command, Huffer, Bow, whatever.
Just some random.
And then you're like, and then you're just like, wow, if I had healing, I would have won that game. So this card makes like Shaman a little bit better. So like you play this card
I've played
after
Earthen
you
Rings.
stabilize.
I've played Earthen Rings and Shaman before, and I've just taken them out because they don't do enough when you get them.
Exactly.
But this does a decent chunk when you get it. Like it
Yeah.
just heals you up a lot when you need it. As I said, if you play 2, you draw them too much, they clog. But
Yeah,
if you
one
draw
will be fine.
1, that's really nice. Like just getting 1 just to heal yourself back up. I actually quite like this card. Not a good arena card because stats are bad for the cost, but for constructed, I can see it as a 1-off.
Yeah, I could say the one of in like Shaman or Mage or something like that, that don't have any access to healing at all.
Yep.
And since like Rope will probably still play Earthen Ring over this if they want it.
It's a 3 mana 3/3.
Yeah, so this card is really good at like Mage or Shaman. in my opinion, because they had no access to healing at all before anyway.
Anyway, on speaking of Shaman, now Blizzard trolled us twice this week. The first one was Mr. Cobalt Guardian. The second one was this thing. Now this one hurt more because it was one of the cards that was voted on. Now this barely, very very close, beat the Druid card, as in there were actually times for several hours where there was one vote between them, and then it won out on literally 50% with like an extra 100 votes. And then it's double mind games. So basically this is a 4 mana Ancestor School, 4 mana epic. Put a random minion from both players' hands onto the battlefield. Now before anyone says, oh, you can drop an 8-drop, no, just no. The problem with this card is, so let's just look at card equilibrium, which matters a lot with Shaman because they don't have that much card draw. They like their 1-for-1s and they like 2-for-1ing every so often. So what does this do? So you're down a card, you spend a card, you put a card on the board, that's 2 down. Then you give him a card, so that's 3. But then you answer what he put down, so you put in 4 cards. He then answers what you put down, and you 3-for-1 yourself.
This card is really bad.
It's horrible. Like
it's like Deathlord in this sense, because like people used to think Deathlord was gonna see play, but like I always said, giving your opponent a minion for free is terrible. You lose so much tempo, it's insane.
Like, look
even
at
in
Mad
like arena,
Mad Scientist
it's bad.
gets secrets which are situational, and they
Exactly.
always cost like 2 mana or something, and it's still insane.
So this card is just bad in like every way.
It's horrible.
It's just so bad because like, okay, you play a minion for 4 mana, it's random, so you don't get to pick at all. And your opponent gets a free minion. He doesn't have to, so like, even if your opponent gets like a 5/5 Ancient of War or something, because I'm pretty sure Ancient of War would be a 5/5.
Yeah.
If it's like summoned. So if your opponent gets a free 5/5, and then plays another minion and kills the minion you summon from this card, that's just, you lose the game.
The funniest argument I heard was like, alright, you're playing as Hunter and Zoo, and you play it, and they don't get anything good, and I'm just like, no, because it's turn 4. The only thing they have left in their hand is Savannah Highmane and Doomguard.
Exactly. like
it does not work that way.
even giving like Zoo a free Flame Imp or Knife Juggler or 3-drop is still really good for them.
Have to deal with it.
Exactly. It's another minion for them.
And then there's the second argument, which is like, Ancestor School Hex. I'm like, so you just spent 7 mana, 2 cards, and what happens if, like, the funniest thing is in the Shaman Mirror match, if someone plays Ancestor School and they're like, hex what you played, and you're like, hex what you played, thank you for dropping your card.
Basically, that's it. Like, yeah, it's just not a good card.
Against Control Warrior, this never does anything good for you, ever. Worst case scenario for them is Cruel Taskmaster. Every other card in their deck is bad for you if it goes on.
Yeah, like, what are you gonna do when they get like a turn 4 Alex Straza?
Even an Acolyte of Pain is horrible.
Yeah, because you have to deal with it. And if it's on turn 4, you can't deal with Acolyte of Pain.
Yep, and then they draw a bunch of cards. Yeah, then they just run it into it and execute it. And you're just like, God damn it.
Exactly, this card is not gonna see play.
It's terrible. It's worse than Mind Games, and I didn't think I'd say that in a while.
I think Unstable Portal is better, to be honest.
Yeah, it is. Way better. Because you draw a card, and you only lose mana. Actually, that's a good segue, because Royal's a cool pet. The Unstable Portal was not as bad as Farsight because it cost 1 less, so the chances of chances of you losing mana were pretty low. You had to get a 1-drop to lose mana. Now, Cool Pet is one of my... Alright, Blizzard, this is going to bite you it's going to stab you in the back in like a year. You will have to nerf this card eventually, because at some point in the next year, it will break the game in half. Now, so, Cool Pet, 2 mana, rare, draw a card. If it's Beast, it costs 4 less. Now, first thing people said, oh my god, it's just a bad Farsight. Stop trying to make Farsight good. No, this is not a bad... Alright, at the moment, it's not that good, because there aren't enough good beasts that cost 2 or more.
It's really bad right now.
Like, if you... if you have, like, if you played a current deck with all the beasts, and then the new legendary Hydra thing, which we're voting on at the moment, actually isn't that bad, it costs like 6 or 7 mana, it's not terrible, it's just not good enough to be played.
Exactly.
So, it's safe at the moment. The problem is that, worst case scenario, it draws a card for 2 mana, which is not good, but it's not amazing. It's not amazing, it's not horrible, it's just kind of meh. But the second line of text basically says that if you draw a beast, you just played Innervate and drew a card. Now, at the moment, that isn't that good because the chance of you getting a beast you can play off free is fairly small. It's like a third of your deck, because it doesn't work with Animal Companion. However, a year from now, or something, when we have probably 3 extra card sets, there'll probably be enough of a beast mass where you can play 20 beasts and 10 spells. At that point, Cool Pet basically becomes 2/3 of the time I draw a card for 2 mana. 2/3 of the time I win the game. 1/3 of the time I draw a card for 2 mana. That is a badly designed card. That's a really badly designed card.
Is Blizzard trying to say they want more like not complete aggro hunter decks? They want like you to play more beasts and play cards that are like high end, high mana cards.
This doesn't even do that, because like you just
play,
I
know.
If you draw anything that costs more than 1 mana, you're ahead.
Yeah, it's really good. In a year or so, when we have like when the meta is probably not gonna be as fast, because Blizzard's gonna be working on cards to make the game more interactive, and
all they have to do is make, I would say, 3 more beasts that are playable and cost 3 or more. That's all they have to do.
And then you would run like a really like beast. You would see like mid-range control hunter with like a lot of beasts and like high-end beasts like double high main.
You run like,
maybe Kodo,
you run like
Tiger,
no
then the other
secrets,
good ones.
No death routes or anything, and then you just run a control engine with like kill commands. You run trackings and like cool pets and animal companions, and then maybe 1 other spell. So some other kind of control spell which we don't have yet, but we will eventually. And then you just run 20 beasts, and your opponent's like, okay, so if he gets tracking or cool pet, I'm dead. Okay, this is your game. Look, this is not fun. And tracking basically just fetches cool pet, because you look at top 3 and you either get a beast that sets up your hand if you don't have cool pet, or you just get cool pet, and then you play cool pet, and if you draw a 4 mana or lower beast, you just play it immediately, and you just went hunter bait basically.
Especially if you get like a high main or something out like the turn after. You just win.
If you draw high main, you actually just win the game, because you can play this on turn 2. This is something I'm terrified of, and it will happen at some point. Someone is going to coin cool pet, turn 2 high main.
Then you're just gonna lose the game.
I don't see how you win against that, to be honest.
No, you don't.
You don't win against that. You just don't. And this is the funny thing. People say, "Oh, you're all in." No, it draws a card.
Exactly, it draws the card, which is
it
good.
Doesn't say. It always draws the card. That's the other stupid thing about this. I don't know why they made this card. It's a mistake. It's not too powerful now, but when there's enough beasts, this will break a metagame in half at some point.
If they nerf Novice Engineer, right? So this card is insanely better than Novice Engineer.
If you get, like, especially if you have beasts in your deck. But it's so silly that they designed this. It's just like, they will have to nerf this card at some point in Hearthstone's future.
It's fine right now, but in the future, yeah.
It's like Undertaker, where every single time the set comes out, the power level goes up. Which, yes, Undertaker is like arguably the best card in Goblins and Gnomes so far.
It's another cycle card for Hunter, though, which is pretty good just for another cycle card.
If no one's running secrets, you don't need to run Flare. Just run Cool Pet instead.
So you run like double tracking, double call pet.
That's a ridiculous cycle engine. Jesus Christ. That's horrible. Wow. Like, yeah, that's pretty miserable, actually. What's funny is that you're actually going to tracking for the Cool Pet.
Yeah.
Like, what's kind of upsetting is, like, if you have a deck with 20 beasts in it, you could actually go tracking, and it has, like, high main, Stampede and Kodo, Cool Pet, and you will take the Cool Pet.
Yeah, like, I could imagine playing Control Warrior, and then my opponent plays Cold Pet, and I just, like, beg for no I
Turn
mean,
3, pet Kodo.
like, if you just get a playable beast in the next like few turns, it's good.
Yeah, like, if you get an Oasis Snapjaw of this, no one's gonna be laughing at that thing.
Yeah, it's not even bad if you get like Buzzard. Maybe
Hey,
you
you
run
can
Buzzard
combo
because it
with
calls
Buzzard
pets.
again.
Yeah.
It
Maybe
does.
you run this with Buzzard.
Worst case scenario is Web Spinner, but then you basically just played a kicker cost on Web Spinner where you just paid one extra.
And you
to
cycled a
cycle.
card.
Yeah, so you just paid one extra to cycle, and the Web Spinner cycles anyway. So Haunted Creeper is free, but you cycle through your deck, so your deck is smaller. And it also increases the chance of you getting anything else. And that's like worst case scenario on the B side of things. Other things is like, I remember people saying, like, what happens if you draw Kill Command? I'm like, you're complaining that you drew Kill Command.
Yeah, you're cycling a card.
Worst case scenario, you're paying one extra mana. Like, this compared to Flare is just kind of hilarious. If there aren't any secrets in the metagame, tracking is way better than Flare, by the way. So, tracking and, like, Cool Pair are close. Flare is only played over tracking right now because
Because
secrets.
of the 100 mirrors.
Literally the only reason. There is no other reason to play.
Yeah, because it's
Flare
so hard
over
to fit tracking in Hunter deck right now.
If Hunter was not the best deck right now, or arguably the best deck, tracking would be everywhere, just like it has been throughout Hearthstone history. But Cool Pet compared to tracking is close. Compared to Flare, if there aren't that many secrets in the metagame, it's not close. Like, one extra mana at worst case scenario to draw a card, and at best case scenario you just innervate with Hunter and draw a card. That just seems really scary. As I said, balanced right now, but eventually they're going to have to nerf this card. Eventually. It'll take a while, though.
I'm sure people are going to try it with, like, Stranglethorn Tiger
Try it.
and High Maids and Kodos and stuff.
Ugh.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Muster for battle. 2 cards left. Muster for battle. Paladin card. 3 mana. 3 dudes seriously. That is a quote that I think about half of the people watching are going to get. Anyway, summon 3 Silver Hand Recruits and a Lights Justice. I know it says a 1/4 weapon, but I would not be surprised if the token is actually called Lights Justice.
It probably is.
This is going to do for Lights Justice what Web Spinner did for King Crush.
See play.
Yeah.
Yeah. This card's good.
It's good, yeah. It has anti-synergy with the next card, but yeah, it's really good. It's support for Paladin, which we don't have at all. Basically, they realize that Control Paladin is not as good as the rest of them, so they need to give Paladin a way of attacking the format from a different angle. And I think Aggro Paladin is probably the best way of doing it, because they do have access to Divine Favor.
I think we're going to see Token Paladin, actually.
I will be at the front of that because I came up with the original one.
I think we're going to see, like, Token Paladin with this card, and, like, maybe Sword of Justice in there somehow. Just, like, a Token Paladin kind of deck.
Like, you could play, if you're playing Sword, you could play Imp Master as well. Like,
yeah, this card's good.
I was the first person to come up with Token Paladin, and before anyone says, no one ever invents a deck, yeah, this was before beta, so I knew most of the player base, because it was like 200 players. So yeah, I was actually the person to come up with this deck, and I stopped playing it because it simply wasn't good enough eventually. There was just better ways of doing aggro. But with Muster for Battle, if we get one other token card, we only need one other one on top of Muster, and then you got a token deck that I would be happy to try out and play.
This is worse than Unleash.
Not by much, though.
But it is worse than Unleash, but it's still a really good card.
It's worse than Unleash if you're behind. If you're
And,
ahead,
like,
it's better than Unleash.
I guess if you're ahead, but, like, you also, like, you play this card and then your opponent unleashes you and, like, plays Timberwolf or something and hits you in the face for...
It's bad against Unleash, that's true.
Yeah, so, like, I still think Unleash is just better than this card, but it's still really good, though.
It's not that bad against Unleash. Like, if they Unleash, they trade all the 1/1s, you still have a 1/4 weapon.
Yeah, but you're gonna equip True Silver the next turn anyway.
Yeah, that's
you're gonna, like,
the
hit, like, a
Coghammer as well.
Divine Shield with this, or, like, face, and then just equip the weapon. And the 1/4 weapon,
It's
I
not
guess it's okay
fantastic,
'cause
but
it's
it
for
does
free.
Something. The point is, it does something. Like, you could definitely go. Also, Knife Juggler into Muster for Battle is disgusting. Like, it's just... You actually just do 4 damage to the board immediately.
Yeah.
That's a lot. But the reason I like the 1/4 weapon is because it allows you to finish off Undertakers, which usually live on 1 life, since they stay 1 above the curve. The other thing it allows you to do is kill cultists and other spider tanks and things like that with your 2-drops.
Yeah, you're probably only gonna hit once or twice with the weapon. Then you're just gonna equip
You
True
do get
Silver.
it for free though, is the point.
Yeah, yeah. So that's fine. The weapon's not good, but you're getting it for free, and you don't have to spend mana.
This is very good in the mirror match.
Yeah.
Which no one ever plays because Paladin is horrible. But anyway, it's very good in the mirror. It's actually good against Shaman as well. The 1/4 weapon is actually good against Shaman if you have the 1/1s with it.
Yeah, you just keep clearing totems.
Yeah, you clear totems for free. I mean, True Silver will come down when you need it, but I guess it does mean you can hold on to the True Silver long. You can hold on to the True Silver until you do need it. But I mean, the main problem with this card is actually the next one, which has anti-synergy with this card. So Muster for Battle, good card. You're basically getting 3/3 stats over 3 guys, which is arguably good or bad depending on the matchup and blah 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 blah. But you get the 1/4 with it, and this is basically Spectral Procession, but for Paladins in a different game. But yeah, it's a good card. I don't know how much play it'll see, but it'll see some play. Now, on to the last card. This is the card we got yesterday, or the day before. Anyway, last card spoiled. Coghammer, another Paladin card. 3 mana, 2/3. Battle Cry. Give a random. Why is random on this card? Anyway, give a random friendly minion Divine Shield and Taunt. Basically, you Sunwalk or something. That is becoming a phrase now.
This card is really good.
Now, this card is extremely good. It gives value when you play it, and it. I mean, the 2/3 weapon for 3 is not as relevant as a lot of people are hyping it up to be, but the effect is very good.
No, but what actually makes this card really good, like Paladin has hard time with like early game removal because their AOE is like Pyromancer quality later in the game.
Killing an Undertaker with this ever.
I know, but like against Zoo, you can kill like a Knife Juggler without a True Silver champion.
That's
and
true.
like, so like against Zoo and like Hunter or something, it still kills stuff. That's important, and it's not on turn 4, which is so slow. It's on turn 3, and it slows the game down because your opponent has to go through a Divine Shield taunt.
This into Consecrate is very good. This into True Silver is horrible.
Yeah, what I see a lot of people doing is I see like coin Muster of Battle and the Coghammer probably, like they hit with the Life Justice like when they get it, and then they equip the Cog, and then they equip this card.
The problem is when you go like 1-drop and then you have to play Coghammer to kill his Juggler or something because you can't play Muster. And then you can't play Muster.
Exactly. But, I mean...
There is anti-synergy.
That is bad. That is awkward.
Yeah. It's really bad with Muster for Battle.
If you can play them in the right order, like, if you can play Muster for Battle first, it's fine. But you can't play Coghammer
like, you're getting
into
worst
Muster
case scenario value out of Muster with Coghammer. Because, like, you destroy the weapon on turn 3 when you coined it out instead of attacking twice with the 1/4.
Which you're probably not too sad about, though, to be honest.
You're not too sad about it, but it is a bit of a value loss. I mean, the way I see it is Coghammer will see more play in the decks that aren't playing Muster.
Yeah.
Because it's a bit awkward. I mean, in the slower decks, you can play it after True Silver, which is really weird if you say it that way. But yeah, you can play it after True Silver and give Taunt to something, or if you can play this with a Tyrion on the board, and it's just hilarious. Like, you silence a Tyrion. You play Coghammer. Yeah, that's a funny interaction. What I don't understand, and someone is going to say, but it'd be too good. It's a Paladin card, okay? Paladin is the worst class in the game.
Cultist was too good.
Why does it need random on it?
It doesn't.
It does not need random on it. We do not need RNG on a... Like, this is not as good as Dark Cultist, and Paladin is as bad as Priest was before Nax.
It might actually be worse. Like, Paladin's so bad.
It actually might be worse.
Like Paladin's so bad.
It's cutting it close either way, but Paladin needs some really, really big help, because every class is getting a lot more powerful with this set, not like Nax where some classes just got shafted.
I think Paladin needed like a good 2-drop or like a really good 1 or 2-drop.
They need a way of killing Undertaker.
Yeah, that would be nice.
My channel mascot.
Yeah.
Which, like, basically, here's the puzzle. How do you kill Undertaker as Paladin without the use of Iron Beak Cal?
You don't.
It's actually impossible. Actually, no, it's not impossible. You need to play like a 1-drop into like Abusive Sergeant if they don't trade.
Oh yeah, that's right. You have to play Stone Tusk Boar and Blessing of Might something. Just to trade.
You need to equality and then Lights Justice.
Like, killing Undertaker is so hard for Paladin. So like, I think this will make Zombie Chow better in Paladin.
Next puzzle is, how do you kill Undertaker and Mech-Whopper?
Oh god, that is so bad.
That's just hopeless.
I think they could have gave Paladin a Fire War Axe, to be honest, and
they should have probably just given them a 2-mana 2/2 version of this. Take away durability, take away a cost.
I mean, like, Paladin needs another minion, because right now, like, what are you gonna give Divine Shield a taunt to as like control Paladin? Just a 1/1, right?
Creature, and then it gets Black Knighted.
Like,
if that
man.
That's actually really awkward, because it's not, you can't choose to not do it, you have to do it. So sometimes you are actually going to run something into Black Knight, it's going to feel horrible.
But this card does have a snowball effect, like, let's say you play, like, and mid-range aggro Paladin or whatever, and you're playing Undertaker and Dahana Creeper into this. That's really good.
If it hits the Undertaker, you win the game. If it hits the Haunted Creeper, then...
It's still really good if it hits Haunted Creeper.
Not really.
A Divine Shield Haunted Creeper with taunt's pretty good. That's like insanely sticky. That's like 5 hits to kill.
It's also the best silence target in the history of the game.
Yeah, but if your opponent is silencing Haunted Creeper, he's not silencing Undertaker.
The other problem is that it leaves your Undertaker open to attack. Like, the problem with running Coghammer, if people are running silences, there's a problem with running Coghammer, is that if a lot of times you have to figure out, a lot of times it leaves your opponent, like, if you play 2 powerful effects, your opponent will often misplay and want to silence, and Coghammer just decides it. Like, that is, like, it doesn't make the card that much worse. What makes the card worse is actually the fact that it's in Paladin. Not the fact that Paladin sucks, but the fact that there's so many cards that just don't work with Coghammer. They just don't.
You have to, like, play to play Paladin and make this card good, you have to play a 1 and a 2-drop. And
then not play True Silver on curve.
Yeah, because you're playing this. So, like, True Silver, like, you're like Zombie Chow and Undertaker into, like, Haunted Creeper into this is, like, the dream curve.
You can't even really play Zombie Chow, because if you're playing that kind of curve, you're playing more aggressive.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Some other weird... You have to fit in a way of beating Mech-Whopper and Undertaker.
Yeah.
Like...
But, I don't know.
Yeah, it's... The problem with this... The one problem that I have with this card that's actually almost game-breaking for me is that when you play this on turn 3 to kill his guy, if they play another guy that's bigger than this, which is not difficult on turn 4...
You're gonna want to equip True Silver.
Yeah, you have to equip True Silver. Like, I was having
and then you just feel awkward.
It's not too bad if you miss the last durability. Yeah, that's true, but it's really bad if you missed 2. And then you just only... Like, you basically 1-for-1 with your 3-mana weapon on a 2-drop, and you took damage for it.
But if you're running Token Paladin or something, you should have a 1 and a 2-drop, so, like, it should get value.
It should, yeah. The other thing this is really awkward against is Harrison Jones. Like, Paladin is going to have so many weapons that they're really cold to Harrison. Harrison will literally always draw cards. Like, True Silver is good against Harrison because they only draw 1 card. And also, it usually already killed something, and they also only draw 1 card, and then every subsequent True Silver is better because it kills Harrison as well.
Basically, yeah.
Coghammer is miserable against Harrison, like really, really bad. They draw 2 cards if they play it in response, and keeping in mind that you probably won't be playing Coghammer on curve a lot of the time. I mean, you'll do it if you have it, but you probably won't be if you won't be if you have True Silver. If you have Consecrate, it's an amazing turn 3 play. If you have True Silver, it's a horrible turn 3 play.
Yeah, but it does give Paladin like early game removal, which I needed.
It
Like
does,
Blizzard
yes.
understood that. Like Blizzard was like, how does Paladin deal with all this early
They
game?
should have made it 2 mana 2/2 weapon, because then they would have had an answer to Undertaker.
Yeah, I would have liked that.
I would have preferred that
More.
massively, because this, I mean, 3 mana 2/3 is in a vacuum better than a 2 mana 2/2 weapon. The problem is Undertaker exists, and if you miss your window to kill Undertaker's Paladin, you are not killing it until you get to True Silver.
Exactly, and sometimes it's a Yeti.
Sometimes
True
by
Silver
then
turn.
it's just not gonna die. Like, if
Yeah.
the worst thing is that there's going to, not to mention Mech Warper is gonna be miserable. Like, imagine playing as a druid with Mech Warper. He has 4 2-drop taunts in his deck that are mechs. For a paladin, you can't kill the Mech Warper. It doesn't even die to Consecrate. You can't kill the Mech Warper except with Hammer of Wrath.
Oh, this card also makes that Druid card better, because
He
if you're
doesn't die
playing
to
it,
Coghammer.
yeah,
Aw.
because if you're playing against Paladin, you like, oh, he's gonna Coghammer this. I just make this a 2/3.
This does also match up hopelessly badly against the other 3-drops that are coming out. Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
it does. It does.
This is something important to think about when looking at Hearthstone cards. In a vacuum, like when Coghammer came out 2 days ago, I thought, that's an insane card, very, very good, and it probably will be very, very good. The problem is that once you take it out of a vacuum and you put it into an actual environment, which is changing, and you put it into an environment where you have to compare it to different things, like, it's not at Dark Cultist power level, and that's
No.
becoming the standard for 3-drops.
Yeah, this actually isn't gonna kill many 3-drops.
It won't kill 3-drops.
That is a problem. But if you can get like Zombie Chow with like a Divine Shield
If
taunt,
you have a 2-drop, it will definitely kill the 3-drop, because you get to trade.
yeah, that's really good, because then you get to attack with it, and then your minion stays alive, and then you have a weapon still.
In Arena, this is ridiculous. It's like True Silver level of bomb as far as weapons goes, because you play it on your 3/2, and then you just trade up twice.
Yeah, so like in constructed, you like to make this card like really good, you have to play 1 and 2 drops, which is gonna change Paladin to get value. Like when you want to play this on curve.
And then you have to kind of play it in a specific way that Muster of Battle doesn't screw you.
Yeah, so then you're playing like, it's really awkward, because like you want to go 1-drop, 2-drop Coghammer into Muster of Battle, but then you don't want to lose the weapon.
You might also end up, like, you won't be able to play Sword either if you're playing Coghammer.
Exactly.
Because then you're 2 weapon heavy with True Silver. And you also won't, you'll be 2 3-drop heavy as well, so you won't be able to do that. You'll have to play Coghammer over it, which I think I maybe would. So but then you won't be hero powering. Like, it's very, very good if it has good targets. I don't know, it's hard to evaluate.
If you play it on curve and it gets value, it's good.
It's hopelessly bad if you're behind. And Paladin is usually behind in the first couple of turns.
If somehow they get a really good 1 or 2 drop, like in the next couple of weeks that are released, it's really good. It becomes better.
What are we talking about here? Like a 1 mana 3/3?
Yeah, that kind of is what Paladin needs.
Straight up wild Nicole.
Like
what kind of what kind of 1-drop are we talking about here that needs to make Paladin good?
something better than Archer Protector, because that's like the worst 2-drop in the game.
It's not the worst 2-drop. It's pretty close, but it's the worst class-based 2-drop. Like, I love how Rogue get their answer to Undertaker. You just coin weapon, and no matter what they do, they can't get it out of range.
Exactly.
Like, Rogue now has 4 ways of killing turn 1 Undertaker, with the new mech they got, the Barber, and also Backstab. So they can Backstab, coin Dagger if they're going second. They can Dagger with Backstab going first to answer the 2/3 that usually comes out. And
Paladin doesn't have anything.
And even if they have, like, and then if you don't have Backstab, you can actually, if you're going second, you can coin Dagger, attack, Barber, attack, and you take, I think you take 5 damage, but you kill the Undertaker for free.
Which is all that matters.
Yeah, and you get a 3/2. So
Because if you don't, you'll take 20 damage from the Undertaker.
That's not even exaggeration. You will actually take 20 damage from an Undertaker.
Yeah, you will. It's
Um,
happened to me before.
But yeah, Paladin needs an answer to Undertaker before I look at the class seriously.
Yeah, that is a big problem.
And the fact that Mech Warper is also completely unkillable for a Paladin does not help its case.
Which Coghammer doesn't kill.
I love how it
By
doesn't
the
kill
way.
the two most powerful cards in the format.
Fiery War Axe is. I still think Fiery War Axe is better than this card.
Fire War Axe is way better than this card. Fire War Axe
So-
is getting better.
I still think Paladin needed a Fiery War Axe. Like, if they got like a 3-2 weapon or something, I think Paladin would be really good.
Yeah, but they didn't. I mean, we still have a couple more class cards, still the Legendary, and like one more class card, I think. So we'll have to see what they get. But anyway, so basically, we saw 3 Paladin cards. Muster is good, Coghammer is good, but they're not, between them, they're really not enough to make Paladin playable again. It's just not. You can't. It does. The problem with Muster and Coghammer is that they augment what Paladin's good at and does not help what they're bad at.
Yeah, they're not what Paladin needed. Paladin needed like a Dark Cultist.
They needed an aggro stop that Coghammer is not an aggro stop. It just isn't. Like
No.
It is not an aggro stop, and anyone who says that it is just lying through their teeth because they like.
It used to be. It used to be like
Pre-Nax
before
Rams.
Nax.
Pre-Nax.
Before Nax, yes.
Even now, like it would still kill a lot, but after Goblins and Gnomes, this is not.
It's not gonna kill anything.
Like Goblins and Gnomes, like 2-drops have become really, really good with Nax, and 3-drops are becoming really, really good in.
It's
in
not gonna
Goblins and
kill
Gnomes.
any of the 3-drops. Like, Tinkertown's not gonna
Oh
be
my
killed by
God,
this.
Tinkertown
Spider
Could you imagine
Spider
playing
Tank's
this
not
against,
killed by it.
Remember the rogue deck we were talking about earlier, like in this video?
Yeah.
If they just go like Coin, Dagger, Barber, Tinkertown, and you go like 2-drop Coghammer, you literally you're just like, so the Barber takes out basically, it takes out the shield and the guy.
Yep.
Actually no, because it will hit it before the Coghammer can come down. So the Coghammer
Oh,
has
yeah,
no
that's true.
targets, then kills the stupid 3/2. You take 3 damage, and you take 4 from the Tinkertown. Then you have to play True
Exactly.
Silver, overlaying your Coghammer. That's just
Exactly.
horrible.
This doesn't kill enough 3-drops
Oh,
to be
that's
played.
so miserable.
It's-
You
it's-
have to play True Silver to kill 3-drops.
So like when you play this card on turn 3, so like you hit and kill something hopefully, and then your opponent coins Tinkertown, then you have to like, this is awkward. I got True Silver in my hand. I have to play True Silver to kill this, and then you lose 2 weapon charges.
Yeah, it's actually, funnily enough, the more and more you talk about this card, and the more and more you look at other cards that have been spoiled, it seems like it's literally being released into the worst metagame possible for it.
Yeah, I think this card would have been really good pre-Nax, or like even right
Even
now.
Now, because it like
Yeah,
it kills
they
all
needed
the
this card
2-drops.
before.
It kills all the 2-drops, but it literally does not do anything to 3-drops. You need
And it's a
guy
3-drop.
on the-
That's the problem.
Yeah, like
It's a 3-drop.
Axe doesn't kill a lot of 3-drops, but it still Fangs, it kills 2-drops, and sometimes it kills 3-drops,
Yeah.
and that costs 2 mana. So, what went wrong here?
And Warriors curve with their weapons aren't as awkward either,
The other thing is
because
like,
they get to hit twice with the weapon before they equip Deathbite.
exactly. The other thing is something else kind of weird about Coghammer is that the effect requires you to have a minion on the board. However, it doesn't stabilize your board if you're behind. So what happens is that if you're playing on curve, it's good. But if you're playing on curve and your opponent's playing on curve, it's bad. I don't know how that
Unless you get to
happened.
kill their minion for free somehow.
Somehow, but like the chances that, like, you literally, the only way of answering Undertaker and Mech Warper as Paladin at the moment is with Undertakers and Mech Warpers.
Yeah, you have to out Undertaker them.
You need to literally go first every single game.
And get a better curve than them.
Get a better curve. And hope they don't have removal for your Undertaker, which every single other class does. Like, you
Yeah, 'cause they're not
every other
Paladin.
class does. Yeah. Like, Shadow Word Pain, Shrinkmeister will allow you to just, like, trade off things really easily.
Yep.
So you got Shadow Word Pain, Wrath, Frostbolt,
Backstab.
Backstab. Hunter doesn't, but they have the most death rattles. And even then, they have the bow at 3 mana, which they can coin into, or just get down when the Undertaker's a 2/3, so they can still kill it, or they can Hunter's Mark it, which I have done. It's horrible. But anyway, I have done. So Hunter's the other one, doesn't really have one. Warrior has Axe. Shaman has Bolt and Rockbiter. Shaman, I think, is really well equipped to deal with a mech Death Rattle, like metagame. Because they have Bolt and Rockbiter, which deal with all of the things. All of them.
Yeah, Shaman's always been good against
Blood Mage
fast
Bolt.
aggro decks, kind of.
Blood Mage Bolt is 3 mana, and it kills every single 3-drop in the game.
Yeah, I think Blood Mage might see more play than it does right now.
Especially in Shaman.
Yeah.
You'll need it. So Shaman actually, I think, looks really well equipped. Not to mention Feral Spirits trades with the 3-drops. Which doesn't sound amazing if you're on the Shaman side of things, but it does stall them for 2 turns.
Which is what Shaman needs.
Shaman looks really well positioned, and weirdly enough, Paladin looks like it's getting worse. How did that happen?
I don't know.
Anyway,
they don't like Paladin.
We've been talking about Coghammer for like 20 minutes, so I think we should probably call it too close. Anything else to say about this 2/3 weapon for 3, or I think we've pretty much laid everything out possible?
I think we talked about it enough.
Yeah,
Nothing really else to
agreed.
say about it.
Also, I lied. This was the card that we talked about the most, not Fel Reaper. Anyway, thank you all for watching. If you like the content, please subscribe if you have any feedback. Besides yelling at me for talking for over an hour about 13 cards, put it in the comment section below. Thanks for coming on, Manuel.
Thank you for having me.
So this is Jotto and Manuel signing off.